One thing that I think doesn't get discussed enough is how COVID has affected churches across the country. Because a lot of times people like to talk about the effects it's had on everyday life, the effects that it's had on small businesses, and how there's some small businesses shutting down because of COVID. And I just want to note that, like some small businesses in this country, there are going to be some churches that have been closed and will never reopen again. Whether it's because they lose some of the congregation or they simply can't keep up with paying for the property. There will be some churches that never reopen again. And part of the discussion last year was, what was essential? What are we going to deem essential and necessary for everyday American life? McDonald's was essential, Wendy's was essential, but would going to church be deemed necessary for Americans? And you look back over last year and it was completely fine. It was completely fine for people to go out and riot and loot because I guess COVID didn't exist as so long as you were out rioting for BLM, but it definitely existed in the church house. So what does this mean moving forward? And the question I want to ask is, because of COVID, has an avenue been created where religious freedom can now be threatened? There's been some viral videos going around the internet revolving around a pastor in Canada named Artur Pawlowski. So on Easter weekend, some police and health officials showed up to, I guess, a sanctuary or a service that they were holding, and he kicked them out. Okay, a number of weeks later, he was actually arrested. Him and his brother were actually arrested for holding a gathering, a religious gathering, which violated COVID guidelines. They called it an illegal in-person gathering. And I'm looking at a picture right now, and the police are he's not walking on his own, so the police are basically just dragging him off. I mean, he's awake and everything, but the police are he's refusing to walk, so the police are basically carrying him to the car. And this really makes me aggravated because the police have become public enemy, the number one enemy of the public. Okay, and they're receiving a bunch of scrutiny and a bunch of hate from a variety of different platforms, from the media, from the left, from our own politicians. The police they are trying to thoroughly discredit the police. And throughout all of that, there has been one consistent voice that has stood out amongst all of that and stood up for police officers, and that has been Christians and conservatives. And so right now, I'm looking at a picture of a pastor who was holding a religious gathering being drug off by the police because it is not essential for people to go to church anymore. It has been deemed too dangerous to go to church. Conservatives and Christians have stuck their neck out, gone against the media, gone against BLM, gone against the wishes of politicians that want to defund the police, and have backed the police at every step. So what happens when the police become a threat to religious freedom? What happens when the police become a threat to Christians and conservatives? Maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's the whole point, is for the police to become the enemy of everyone. And then the government comes in and say, hey, we can give you redemption. We can give you the support that you need, or the support that you want, so long as you go out and do our bidding. Has the door been opened for religious freedoms to be attacked, for religious freedoms to be shut down? What is the next step here? Because I'm thinking about who do you think that they're going to use if this kind of situation ever happens again? It's going to be the police. And like I said, what happens to the police when they become everybody's enemy? When they become when they do not get support from any part of society? Not the left, not the right, not conservatives, not liberals. What happens to the police then? Is their only option to do the bidding, whatever fits the narrative, whatever fits the status quo, whatever is the new ideology of the left? Will the police have to go out and perform those things because that's the only way they're going to receive support? Who do you think, if they roll out this new gun control, if gun control, the way that the Democrats and the left is imagining gun control, if it was rolled out to its fullest extent, who do you think they're going to get to do that? Probably the police. At least they would try to. And so I think it's a very dangerous situation because like I said, the conservatives and Christians, they've been the ones that have came out and backed the police. Despite all the onslaught of scrutiny that they have gotten, conservatives and Christians have stepped up to the plate and have gone to bat multiple times for law enforcement across this country. And so if law enforcement is then going to partake in shutting down religious services, arresting pastors, arresting people who are out having a religious service, not bothering anybody, where are they going to find their support? This could be the beginning of something. This could be the horrible beginning of something that is very dangerous to American society. And I know this is happening in Canada. This isn't happening in America. This didn't happen in America, but it could open the door to some things. And I think that church fundamentally is too important. When you look at the history of this nation, when you look at what it does for the community, what it does for the individual, it is too important to be left out of the discussion when it comes to COVID and the effects that it has had on this nation.